Deep beneath the sands of Egypt lies one of the most intriguing mysteries of the ancient world. Hidden in the underground crypts of the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, a series of carvings has captured the imagination of historians, archaeologists, and mystery seekers alike. These are the famous so-called Dendera bulbs, strange reliefs that seem to depict large elongated objects that resemble modern electric lamps. Inside these shapes, we see serpentine figures stretching from one end to the other, supported by lotus flowers and pillars, surrounded by priests and symbols of divine power. When one first looks at these images, it's almost impossible not to feel that spark of curiosity. How could something carved more than 2,000 years ago look so similar to a piece of modern technology? Is it just coincidence, or are we staring at evidence of knowledge long forgotten by time? To understand this mystery, we must first imagine the place where these carvings rest. The Temple of Hathor in Dendera is a massive, beautifully preserved complex dedicated to the goddess of love, joy, music, and motherhood. Its walls are covered with intricate reliefs and hieroglyphs that tell stories about the cosmos, the gods, and the cycle of creation. But deep below the main structure, hidden from sunlight, lies a narrow crypt, a sacred chamber that few people in ancient times were allowed to enter. It was here, away from the public eye, that the most secret and symbolic carvings were made. And among these carvings, one image stands out from all the others, the mysterious bulb. The shape is unmistakable. It's large and elongated, almost like a glass container. From a lotus flower at its base emerges a serpent that stretches upward, enclosed in what looks like a translucent shell. Beneath it stands a pillar, often identified as the Jed pillar, symbol of stability and resurrection, while priests or deities seem to worship or support the entire structure. The serpent appears to glow, radiating life and energy. Even without modern associations, it gives a powerful sense of light emerging from darkness, life born from the void. And this is precisely what makes it so compelling. For centuries, scholars have tried to decipher what this image truly represents. The traditional Egyptological interpretation is rooted in symbolism and mythology. The lotus flower is one of the most important symbols in Egyptian religion, a representation of rebirth and creation. In Egyptian cosmology, the world was born when the lotus emerged from the primordial waters, opening to reveal the sun god. The serpent, too, is a recurring motif, representing divine energy, movement, and renewal. The Jed pillar stands for strength and stability, often associated with Osiris, god of the afterlife and resurrection. When all of these symbols are combined, the image can be seen as a mythological story of creation. The serpent of life emerging from the lotus of chaos, supported by the pillar of stability, giving birth to light and order in the universe. This interpretation fits perfectly within the broader religious and symbolic language of Egypt. Every element has a meaning tied to the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, concepts that shaped every aspect of their civilization. But then, there's another way to look at it. When modern people see the same image, they can't help but notice how much it looks like a light bulb. The elongated glass shape resembles the bulb itself. The serpent looks like a filament. The lotus at the base resembles a socket, and the pillar could be seen as an electrical connector. To some, this can't be just coincidence. This alternative idea, that the Dendera reliefs depict an ancient form of electrical lighting, has fascinated many researchers and enthusiasts of alternative history. They argue that perhaps the Egyptians possessed knowledge of electricity, or at least some form of advanced energy that has since been lost. One of the arguments often brought forward is the apparent absence of soot in the temple ceilings. If the chambers were illuminated only by torches or oil lamps, the ceilings should show black residue from centuries of smoke. Yet they are surprisingly clean. Could this mean that the Egyptians used a different form of lighting, one that didn't involve fire? Skeptics counter this claim by pointing out that the Egyptians were skilled in creating clean-burning lamps using special oils, and that many temple ceilings were cleaned or restored throughout the centuries. They also used polished metal mirrors to reflect sunlight deep into their temples, which would have reduced the need for torches. Still, the mystery remains tempting. The theory of the Dendera Light gained popularity in the 20th century. fueled by books and documentaries that explored the possibility of lost technologies in ancient civilizations. Some proponents suggested that the temple carvings show a primitive form of vacuum tube, or even a device powered by static electricity. A few even proposed connections with extraterrestrial intervention, the idea that ancient peoples were given advanced knowledge by beings from other worlds. While these claims remain controversial, they continue to attract large audiences because they ignite the imagination. Yet if we set aside both extremes, blind skepticism and wild speculation, we were left with something deeply human, our fascination with light itself. Light has always symbolized knowledge, life, and divinity. In the ancient Egyptian worldview, light wasn't just a physical phenomenon, it was the essence of creation. The rising sun was not simply the beginning of a new day, but the victory of order over chaos, of life over death. When viewed from this perspective, the Dendera bulb may not represent a technological device, but rather a sacred metaphor, a divine lamp of creation, expressing the moment when cosmic light emerges from darkness. It is easy to see why the ancient priests would choose to carve such imagery in a hidden crypt. The crypts beneath the Temple of Hathor were not public spaces. They were restricted sanctuaries, places for initiations and rituals performed by a small priestly elite. The carvings here were not meant for everyone. They were spiritual diagrams, visual tools for meditation on cosmic mysteries. What we call the bulb may have been for them a representation of the birth of light within the womb of the universe. The serpent inside the vessel may represent the god Harsomptus, a form of Horus, who was associated with the unification of Egypt and the cyclical renewal of life. In the texts found nearby, Harsomptus is described as emerging from the lotus flower, radiating divine energy. The vessel could therefore be the container of creation, the womb of the sky goddess, from which the first light is born. The jed pillar beneath it reinforces the stability of the universe that follows creation. Every symbol fits perfectly within this framework. And yet the shape continues to provoke questions. Maybe it's not a coincidence that it looks like a light bulb. After all, human creativity often mirrors itself through time. Perhaps we designed the modern light bulb in a form that subconsciously resembles this ancient symbol of illumination. Maybe both represent the same idea, the triumph of light over darkness. In that sense, the Dendera reliefs could be seen as both technological and spiritual, bridging the gap between myth and invention. If you were to stand in that crypt today, the experience would be unforgettable. The air is cool and dry. The walls close around you. In the dim light, the carvings seem to move. The serpent's curve appears alive. The vessel glows faintly as your flashlight passes over it. It's easy to imagine what the priests might have felt as they walked these corridors, carrying small oil lamps or reflecting mirrors. The play of light on the carved stone would have created an almost supernatural atmosphere. Whether they understood electricity or not, they certainly understood the emotional and spiritual power of light. Modern visitors often describe a strange sense of timelessness in the Dendera crypts. It's as if you're standing in a place where human imagination first tried to capture the essence of creation. Every line carved in stone carries layers of meaning, mythological, symbolic, maybe even scientific. That's the beauty of ancient art. It invites multiple interpretations. It allows space for both faith and reason, for awe and analysis. Archaeologists remind us that symbolism in Egyptian art was never literal. Every object, every gesture, every color carried multiple meanings. The Egyptians didn't separate science from spirituality the way we do today. Their understanding of the cosmos was both physical and divine. To them, describing the birth of light could involve both myth and observation. The Dendera relief might therefore be both a symbolic story and a record of natural phenomena. The rising serpent could represent not only a god, but also the visible curve of a lightning strike or the movement of energy in the sky. When we look at ancient art through modern eyes, we often project our inventions onto it. It's natural. We see airplanes in carvings, rockets in pyramids, astronauts in gods. But the truth might be simpler and deeper at the same time. The ancients may not have had our technology, but they had an extraordinary understanding of nature's patterns. They observed the stars, the flow of rivers, the cycle of seasons, and translated those observations into symbols. Their light was not electrical, it was cosmic, spiritual, eternal. Still, the mystery of Dendera persists because it touches something primal in us. The human desire to illuminate darkness, literally and metaphorically, is as old as civilization itself. We have always sought the source of light, whether in science or in faith. The reliefs of Dendera, whether they depict myth or machine, remind us that this quest has never ended. They stand as a testament to human curiosity, creativity, and our endless search for meaning. Imagine now the craftsmen carving these symbols by torchlight thousands of years ago. Every stroke of their tools carried intention. They were not just decorating a wall, they were encoding a belief system. The serpent, the lotus, the vessel, all were expressions of profound truths about existence. They believed that creation began with the emergence of light from darkness, and that every dawn was a reenactment of that divine moment. The Dendera relief is therefore not just a work of art, but a map of cosmic renewal. Today, when we see that image and feel the resemblance to a light bulb, maybe it's not about electricity at all. Maybe it's about recognition. A moment when two civilizations separated by thousands of years reach for the same symbol to describe the same mystery. The Egyptians carved their idea of light into stone. We captured ours in glass and filament. Both are human attempts to bring illumination into the darkness. As technology advances, we often look back and wonder if the ancients had knowledge we've lost. Maybe they did, not necessarily in the form of machines, but in the form of wisdom. They understood that symbols could carry truths deeper than literal descriptions. Their science was embedded in their spirituality, and their spirituality was encoded in their science. The Dendera reliefs may not reveal lost technology, but they reveal an ancient understanding of energy, life and creation that still resonates today. And perhaps that's the real light the Dendera carvings offer us, not the glow of a forgotten bulb, but the illumination of insight. They remind us that knowledge is not just about invention, but about perception. The priests of Hathor didn't need electricity to understand light. They saw it as a divine force that flows through all living things. In that sense, they might have understood more about the essence of light than we do, even with all our modern technology. So when you see those mysterious bulb-shaped carvings, don't think only of lost technology or alien visitors. Think of them as messages carved across time, expressions of wonder, awe, and the eternal human quest to understand where light comes from. Whether myth or machine, they shine with the same meaning, that light is life, that knowledge is sacred, and that curiosity is the spark that connects all generations. And maybe that's why even today, thousands of years later, we're still talking about the Dendera bulbs. Because deep down, we're still searching for light in the darkness. We still want to believe that somewhere in the past, someone found the key, and that through their symbols, through their art, we might rediscover it. That's the beauty of mystery. It never dies. It simply waits in the shadows, glowing softly, waiting for us to see it. If you enjoyed this exploration, take a moment to subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Do you think the Dendera reliefs show lost technology or divine symbolism? Whatever your answer, one truth remains. The light of curiosity never fades, and it continues to guide us, just as it did for those ancient hands carving the walls of Dendera thousands of years ago.